This is what y'all getting today.
Oh, just a podcast of silence. That's what I want. I want one where it's so silent, but the camera continues to move.
Yeah, that's pretty much. It'll be like a lot of like, see, no, that's all right. Okay, what were you gonna say anyway? It's a lot of that. No, go ahead and say what you're gonna say. Nah, I ain't gonna say nothing. No, say what you were gonna say.
Have you ever had a dream that you had to do so much you could do anything?
So any intro that you wanted me to say? Anything that you want me to say about you?
Whatever you come up with, I know I'm okay with.
Okay. Well, I have to let you know. I do that. I feel so bad doing it. I always ask the guests. I'm always like, anything you want me to say about you? And then a lot of times they'll be like, oh yeah, I do this, and then you could say this and this, and then I just never say it.
Right. Well, and I wouldn't expect you to remember if I said all this. I hated that about hosting when I was like, any credits you want to give? They're like, tell them that I'm on this and that. I'm like, I barely remember your name. Who's standing in front of me?
Yeah. Well, I think also your grind is so, you have applied a mom pace to a career. It's the most impressive, but also like it's so you, the way that you're going about your professional endeavors, that it's inspiring, because it's just like you do videos with your husband. You just told me 40 podcasts that you do.
Yes.
I want to know, you also, I know you do stand up, and I know that you have, you do acting on top of things. Like your grind is just insane, because you have so many irons in the fire at the same time. Mm-hmm. I want to know what is it that, like, do you thrive in this chaos? Because I see so many things that you're like, you literally, you just have an idea and then a video happens. Is it that quick from?
That would be great if that was the case. If it was that quick, Drew, oh my God, I would be so far ahead in what I was doing. No, actually, I have to fight against critiquing my ideas too much. I critique my ideas a lot.
You would never have even that feeling whatsoever, because you're so confident online, and you're confident in person too, and I've known you over the years, but like you're so it just has, what I love about your content is it feels so accessible. It feels so like oh, I am in Angel's home with her and her husband, or with her and her kids, with her during this dance, during this challenge, during whatever. And of course, I don't mean to say that there's not thought that goes into it. It just feels so. It feels like it has a flow from its impetus to its execution.
There is a little bit of a flow, and I do want it to feel like you are getting like an authentic slice of what's going on in my head. Yeah. But one of the reasons why I critique it is because I do want to excel at the thing that I'm doing. Mm-hmm. I do have like an attachment to, is this good? Mm-hmm. Is this worth people spending this amount of time with me? Even if it's only 90 seconds that I'm asking you to spend time with me. There are so many people making content. That's a lot of time that people are trying to divvy up. Yeah. So that's the part that becomes, like, for me, a little bit of a mind cluster thing of, is this good enough for, like, me to ask someone to pause 1 second and watch this thing?
Of course. So you're always looking at it from the user experience. At least you consider it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I consider myself an artist and entertainer first, regardless of what genre you're seeing me in, whether it's on stage, whether it's on TV, or just on your phone. And I have made a contract pretty much with the people who are deciding to absorb my content. Yeah. Is that I'm going to try not to waste your time. Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah. So while I won't let someone dictate what my content will be, I will allow their presence to dictate the type of quality that I'm willing to put out.
Of course.
And that has been helpful and harmful in many ways.
I think so. I think it's a balancing act. Yeah. How do you delineate that? How do you find yourself being like, okay, I don't want this to be such an influence that I just fold, and I just I find a thing that they enjoy, and then that's what I'm doing, and then your soul starts to leave.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you delineate?
It's called, worked it out. I talked it through with my therapist because I can get really heady, and sometimes I just need to say all the things and then have somebody who actually was listening and help like organize all the stuff that I just said. So the way I explained it to her is like, I'm always looking for like the yellow canary diamond when it comes to content, like that thing that's going to make people accidentally scream when they're watching, when they were trying to watch something in silence, but all of a sudden they're like, like, that is what I'm always looking for. That thing where they're like, Angel, you're going to get me fired. I'm like, yes. And I said, but then it can be paralyzing because I'm like, is it that? So I'm working on something called fluff.
Called fluff.
Yes. Allowing myself to post fluff because I have watched some of my peers, mostly male peers, to be honest, post fluff. I can tell very little thought went into it. They posted it anyway, and someone connected to it.
You'll never see me post fluff, Angel. I promise.
You're like,
I guarantee you've never seen me post
You
fluff.
haven't. Like, all of your stuff seems very well executed. And it's not to put judgment on people posting fluff, but I'm like, that had to have been kind of like, I don't know, freeing to not feel like I had to knock it out of the park.
I see. The reason that I know that I haven't posted fluff is because I find myself thinking about the exact same thing you're thinking about.
There we
and
go.
Oftentimes it is like male comedians or male and anything. I am a straight white male, and I don't walk around with the confidence of one.
Oh my God. Listen, Drew, that is literally my saying. I want white boy confidence. That's literally what I say all the time.
Me too.
But Drew, you were born into it. You need to pick it up.
I didn't even pick this shirt out. My wife did. This does feel like this does feel like a straight white. He was like, yeah,
I can wear it. Animal print.
Whatever.
Absolutely. Drew, I can't believe you don't have it, but you are correct. Your content reflects somebody who's working hard as hell.
Well, I'm glad that I can connect with you on this way because I come very much from the cloth of just neurotic I don't the idea of posting something out that's just like, yeah, that's fine, whatever, first or second draft, that's enough. I couldn't. I don't know that I could do that. I don't know that I have. I do operate from a place of doing this thing that I call one for me, one for them, which is like a little bit like, all right, this is more for you guys as far as maybe the subject, maybe if it's a joke, maybe if it, and then something that's a little more for me. And again, when I say the balancing thing, that's what I mean. I think it's just chiseling down those extremes to find that medium of like, all right, this is a little bit more for you guys. I could see enjoying it, but I still have my influence on it. And then somewhere on the other side, which is this is mostly me, and I hope that you can find yourself enjoying it.
Yeah.
So it's cool that you are just now introducing fluff into your content.
And the reason being is where we differ is I have 4 children, right? I mean, I know you now have your wife, but I have 4 children and my husband, who I also am extremely intentional about. I'm not parenting in a very lackluster way. I'm very intentional. My kids will feel my presence, hopefully, mainly in a good way, throughout their entire life. So eventually I have to find places where I can like let off the gas.
Yeah.
And that's a way in this, industry that we're now in that is so content is king, where I know I have to stay in front of people. I had to find a way to give myself permission to still do that and not drive myself crazy.
Yeah. I mean, have you experienced burnout since your I guess, exponential growth in your content?
Well, luckily, I knew early on, because I've been creating content since 2009.
Yeah.
I knew early on I need a team. So soon as revenue started to match the content I was putting out, I started to build a team as soon as I could.
Wow. So
that things that did not require my hands to be on them did not have my hands on them. So that helped with me not getting to burn out now. Now, before the team came, I would burn out in different areas. Like, for instance, I've retired from stand-up. I was like, That was great. I don't feel like pounding the pavement. I don't feel like going to clubs to work out jokes.
Yeah.
I don't feel like having to be on the road every weekend.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't, what's the word? The payoff wasn't high enough for me because me being on the road, me being at these clubs, me doing whatever, that means I'm not with my kids.
Yeah. The risk reward just wasn't there.
It wasn't lining up. So will that ever change and go back to, okay, now the reward is good enough for me to like take this time off? Potentially.
Sure.
So I think with different areas of my life, there have been like pieces of burnout, even with television acting. Like there was a period of time, especially during like the height of the pandemic, when it was very few people were getting to go work on camera because of all of the COVID protocols and everything. I was able to like slide that to the side, even though I was still working a little bit on camera, and really focus on my content. And that was nice because it feels like, especially with acting, you have to seize whatever opportunity is in front of you. And I got to a point where I was like, nah, I don't want to go out for that. Where that was definitely not the case years before. And it was just like, this, now. I would have to drop the content and go into auditions, memorizing 12 pages for something I know they're going to give to a like major celebrity. And now I can look at it, I can see it and be like, nah, I don't want to waste my time on this, you know.
Has that taken a lot of mental, has that taxed you at all mentally, being like, I can't take on every opportunity that comes my way? Because I feel like I would be beating myself up if something came along and I couldn't do something about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very taxing. My brain space is more packed than my calendar. Like I'm constantly weighing stuff, and trying to find ways to like reset myself, because sometimes it feels like I am like on a hamster wheel of like, okay, is it this or this? And trying to come up with rules that, because I am very much so a rule follower. Okay. So I'm tried to create rules for myself to make it easier for me to decide what is a yes and what is a no.
What are some of those rules?
One is always the risk reward. If it is something that is going to take me away from my kids, what does it benefit them if I am away doing this?
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Will either the payment be revenue that allows me to do something really nice with them, like we all went to the Bahamas for the beginning of the year? Or is the opportunity something that allows me to work with someone that I admire and I feel like will sharpen me more as a creative?
Yeah.
And is the project something that really speaks to where I want to grow as an artist? If I can't get majority yeses out of those three, is a good chance it'll be a no. The only thing that might trump it is if it's for someone that I care about a lot and I want to help them in whatever they're trying to do.
Sure. What about the schedule for your posting? What is there any schedule, any rhyme or reason in your relationship with the algorithm and the content is king and what dictates what? Or is it just, I made this, I worked on it, I loved it, this is what's going to go?
It's pretty much the latter. The young lady, Brianna Jones, who helps me shoot my content, we batch shoot most of my content. So the challenges that people see me do with my husband, a lot of the mom content, we batch shoot in one day. And we shoot pretty much all the content for the month.
Wow.
Yes.
And my goodness.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It does not have that feeling at all.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
It really has this feeling of like, Angel thought this morning, and she shot it this morning, and it's coming out this morning.
And it's coming out today.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, there is room for that content too. So
Sure.
some of that is that, but we shoot at least 16 pieces of content that we put into an Excel sheet, and she has like an idea of the days that I should drop them. I then decide if that's going to be the case or not. Sometimes I move things up or whatever. And then I plug in stuff on the other days.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
It was
But it's
so
helpful. It's
Yes.
helpful because then you have a skeleton to work off of, and then you can manipulate however you want. Everything else is
Absolutely.
just icing in addition to that content. So it's almost like you always have something in the fridge, and then you can
Pretty much, yeah.
That's amazing. Is it you are you the person who comes up with all the ideas? Is it you and your husband who you guys are collaborating on a lot of this stuff? Is your producer helping as well?
It's a combination of things. I actually don't have a lot of time to absorb content. So I don't get a chance to just sit and scroll to like see a lot of the trending things. So that's what Bree, the producer, is really good at. Because her job is helping people create content. So she's always absorbing ideas. So she brings me the things that are trending, the ideas that are happening, and then I come up with the comedic vision to place on top of that.
Yeah.
That is then where I plug in my husband. Because some of the stuff I'll like, because she'll have ideas and I'll be like, he ain't gonna do that. So sometimes it's me figuring out, okay, how can I make this something that he will do? Or how can we make him not wanting to do it the actual piece of content?
Is that something you come up against a lot with him?
Yes, all the time. Yes.
He's so funny. Gosh, he's my spirit animal. He really is.
Oh, yay.
I love him. I want to one day I want to grow up to be him because he just is like, no, I'm not doing that. And I'm see that's me. I'm not doing that.
You're like, that's right. He is very, he knows who he is.
Yeah.
And I am glad of that.
Yeah.
Now, did I have to persuade him to get on camera and trust me in the fact that I knew, like, I consider my husband to be the funniest person that I know.
So funny.
And most people did not know that. And I would say that and people would be like, that man is a mute. And I'm like, no, I promise you, if you ever get a chance to just hear him, you are going to be like, this man is insane. So it took a minute for him to trust me when I was just like, please just let me have you.
Yeah.
And I will try my best not to make you feel like you have to be something else.
That you're not. Yeah.
Yeah. And so a lot of it is definitely like the couples challenges. He truly hates them.
I could see that.
Yeah, that is not acting at all. And I wanted to do couples challenges even when the cameras weren't rolling. I really love them.
Really?
Like, I'm the type of person that will watch American Ninja Warrior and be like, we should do this show. I want to do it so bad.
Oh, you missed that. That's easy. Yeah.
And I know it's difficult, but I'm like, I feel like I can figure this out. I feel like I could. Yep, I can figure it out. That part might be tricky, but if I can get past that part. And my husband is like, why? And I'm like, and there's obviously a playful side of me, and I love to play with him, even though he's just like, we are both going to be injured and in the hospital. And I'm like, no, you don't believe, but I do.
The sock challenge is one that Mel and I did. We did one. We didn't record it. I don't really know who won because I got her sock off and she kneed me in the nose and I almost bled. That was not on purpose. She didn't do that on purpose. Maybe. But she's extremely competitive, and as soon as she saw that, and she was like, "There's a challenge that's out there that did this," and so we did like a trial of it yesterday, and man, it was dangerous for sure. But
all of them are pretty dangerous. They're pretty risky. They all are. Like, and I am someone who is afraid of being injured, but I trust my husband explicitly not to let me hurt myself.
Yeah.
And he's like, stop doing that.
So does he find himself content with the fact that he's now that he trusted you to be in a life? Because I noticed that has to be the thing that from what I've seen, so many people respond to you guys being this power couple online and being so openly supportive of one another, and just you capture the essence, I think, of your guys' relationship so well. Yeah.
Wait a minute. What was the question?
Sorry. The question is he now comfortable in that environment, knowing that he wasn't originally was a little to it?
I mean, listen, he retired from his job, and so he does this with me full time. So he's more comfortable. He's still learning, and I have to constantly work on myself, realizing I have like a 12-year head start on him when it comes to content. Because sometimes I'm like, no, you just do this. And he's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
But he is more comfortable just because I feel like there's a bit of an agreement between us of like, you know, when he's really adamant about not doing something, I'm not going to keep like forcing or pushing it. And also, he's also comfortable because he is getting to show up like himself.
Yeah.
The part that he had to work on was you can't say everything that you think
right
in your head.
Yeah.
I was like, no, you got to get quicker at editing yourself. And he has gotten quicker at that and understanding, like, even though he's already a private person, so he never felt like his thoughts needed to be public consumption. But he's like, okay, now if you want me to talk, I'm saying what I'm thinking. And I'm like, oh, no, you do actually need a bit of an edit button. And so that's the part that he had to get a little bit more comfortable with. And now he's gotten really good at it.
Yeah.
He's like, that's a thought that stays back right here. And I'm like, good job.
Yeah.
And sometimes I can see the thought getting ready to come out. And I'm like, no, keep it back. Thank you so much.
So he's gotten better with that filter of like, I think this one's a little bit more for me and this one's one for sharing. I think I relate a lot to him because I'm also such a private person. I'm very private, and I even like doing a podcast. It's a comfort zone thing for me. But I like bringing people on where I listen to them and I learn from them, and I like to talk. You know, so it puts so much. Like I've always said this every podcast I've ever done. I was like, I think I make such a better host than I do a guest, just because I enjoy listening and kind of being more of more just appreciating the space of what the person's setting up, rather than being such a big involvement piece with it. So when with your content, what's the thing that people most resonate with that you see? Is it stuff between you and your husband? Is it the challenges? Is it, the sketches that you guys do?
It's a couple of different things. I definitely the couples challenges that we do resonate with people more so. It is because of Marcus's and ours interaction. It is even though they can see how much hatred he has towards each of these things.
It's like a character. It's so good. You guys really deserve like a TV, like you have a TV show. You already have one. You know, it's one that people tune into every single day. People love whatever it is you post, and it's immediate. But it's your guys' relationship is just so it's just so pronounced that you can't write a breakdown that's better than like these characters.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I think the reason why it resonates with people, regardless of whether or not their spouse is like the Marcus in the situation or their spouse is the angel in the situation, there are a lot of couples that have these two type of characters in them. This person that is super outgoing, that's willing to like, I'll try anything. And this person that's just like, if you could leave me alone. If you could not bother me right now. There's so many people who like, I see that in the comments all the time of like, oh, I like Marcus, am allergic to people too. Like Marcus is just like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
And I think even with our like bickering, you can see the overwhelming love that we have for each other and respect. And even like, we just recently did a video to promote our our podcast live show of like Instagram couples or like content creator couples in like our reality. And there are couples who have made a good living off of painting these more beautiful, perfected pictures of their relationship. The very soft, romantic moments that are just like, oh, so well curated. And he would never be down to do that. Yeah. Like he barely even wants to do it for a photo, much less a video. Yeah. So I think we have created a space of you about to see what we really look like. And it's not always, babe, I love you. Sometimes it's like, heifer, get off of me.
Yeah,
you
of
know
course.
what I'm saying?
Because that's what's real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even in the heifer, get off of me, he still loves me. He doesn't want me to leave the room. He just wants me to stop trying to do some sort of yoga pose on him. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of people are like, oh, okay, great. Because my husband thinks the same thing or my wife thinks the same thing. So I feel like that resonates a lot. And then also, even though there are a lot of people who are like, Angel, I don't know how you do it. Angel, you do so much. I think they also see the authenticity of when I do show up as a hot mess and being like, well, this is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think people love the fact that I've given myself permission to show up in that way, because it then gives themselves permission to sometimes show up in that way, because there's a lot of pressure to show up perfect.
Absolutely. And I think like you've hit this perfect stride, this balance of it being like it is imperfect, but that's what makes it so good. It's not like your guys' thing, like there'll be a video that captures your guys' morning, or it's a sketch that captures your relationship, and it's just what I love about it is there's just things that it feels like it's okay for it to not be so put together. And I think that's what's going to resonate most with any couple who watches your guys' content. And I'm sure you guys have just couples who are just like avid just watchers of what it is you guys do. Now, how about with this business? I think it is, it's hard when you haven't found your way, and it's hard when you don't have that clear path. And I think that manipulates all the time. It changes. And how is it that you respond under that sort of turmoil when you talk about how you've been doing content since 2009 and you've been doing this grind with stand-up and acting and everything? You're multi-hyphenated in that way. How has your mental health sort of evolved, and how has it sharpened over the years? What tools?
Well, I will say, thankfully, I am someone who grew up in a very like strict Christian household. So we went to church all the time. As I grew up, I developed my own like walk and like how I relate to my faith, which made my journey into this industry a lot easier, because I never put my value in the yes or the no that someone gave me. So I could get a bunch of no's, and while they would like irritate me, it never changed how I viewed myself or how I viewed my talent.
That's great.
So that helped me mentally there.
It's such a great foundation.
Yeah, because it can get hard. If you're out here for long enough, you're going to hear thousands of no's.
Yeah.
And if you get confused with what that no actually represents, you could easily become depressed about something that, honestly, when you look back at it, wasn't that valuable. Yeah, it might have been money, but it wasn't really valuable as far as in who you are as the character of your person. You know what I'm saying? So for me, that has kept me very sane through most of my walk in this industry, is just knowing, just because they said no doesn't mean I'm not super talented, doesn't mean I'm not a good person, doesn't mean I don't deserve to be able to put my talent in front of a lot of people. It just meant no to that opportunity. Yeah. Right. And then as we went into the pandemic, something that I kept saying was I wanted a therapist / life coach, someone to just help me make sure that I'm not demonstrating behaviors that are to my detriment, right? Sure. That I'm not actually introspective enough to catch, right? Sure. So I found her in 2022, I do believe, and she has been a godsend. And in a way of, one, helping me see those things, like, with me being that person that's always like, is this good enough? Is this good enough? And her helping me hone into like, okay, but you can allow yourself to put out stuff because you have all these things on your, plate, and you're seeing people do it. You're seeing people walk in confidence enough that if I put this out, somebody's still going to like it. Yeah. Especially if it's something authentic that they wanted to create, you can do that too if you really want to. Also helping me, for instance, like you said, there's no the path. Trying to find the path is crazy. And with me being a rule follower, which comes from me being raised in a religious household, I'm a person that's just like, tell me what to do. Yeah. What is the next step? Yeah. We are in an industry now where it's just like, you better figure out what your next step is. Exactly. So she is like, if I were in the military, me being a rule follower would help me excel.
Sure.
Right? She was like, as an artist, you've got to find loopholes. So she was like, what we'll do is we'll help you create your own rules.
Yes.
And then from there, you
Yes.
can decide what path you want to go.
Yes.
So that has been extremely helpful in not having me kind of spiral out of, but no, you all told me that if I went to grad school and I took
Yeah.
acting seriously, then I could be a superstar. Why is that not the case?
Yeah.
Okay, now with content, you all said if I was making sketches that I would have so many millions of followers. Why is that not working out? So instead of me focusing on what other people use as their path to
Yeah.
get to where they wanted to be as in success,
Yeah.
me figuring out what rules do I want to lay down for myself.
Yeah.
And that means if I can complete those rules and feel good about it, then I am successful, regardless of the numbers, regardless of what money looks like. If I can create my own lane and feel like I am abiding by the rules that I've set for myself, then I'm golden.
See, that is such a great way to apply it, because she's giving you the tools to set the framework for yourself. So you're then following the template that you set for yourself, not someone else's.
Yeah.
And I can relate so much to that, because I feel the exact same way. Like, I just feel it has to make sense. It has to have like it has to be logical, or else I can't, I don't thrive in the chaos of something that's it has to be structured. And it's so funny, because I feel like I'm the only person who I'm still so controlling to be like, it has to be a structure that I set, that like, that's the creative part of me, or like, no, it has to be this way. But the rule following part of me has to be like, well, if you it has to be someone else that sets it, but it can't be like, it's like you're the employer and the employee at the same time.
Yeah.
And I've always said, like, I think I'm a great employee. I don't think I'm a great employer of myself. I just, like, I think, especially when it comes to mental health, or when it comes, like, I am always harping on myself for how something could have been better, or why it wasn't good enough. And then the employee side of me is like, all right, I'll fix that. I'll do that,
Yeah.
And it's just to set those rules in a healthy template like you've done for yourself, I think is so smart.
Yeah, it was necessary, and also like for my own kind of like emotional health as well, being able to like, because I'm such a rule follower, I will ignore if there feels like there's something off within me, and being able to like quickly now assess if something is out of alignment with what I actually want. And actually stopping and assessing and adjusting the situation to my benefit, because there are definite times where especially before, if a rule was set, even if I felt icky about it, if that's the rule that I'm doing. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So any type of emotion that might have been attached to it wasn't even secondary. It was knocked off of the list.
Sure.
It was just like, get over it, because this is the rule. And so now being like, you know what? For something about this is making me feel icky. Let me figure out what that is. And if it's not something that can be fixed or adjusted so that I don't feel that way, then this is something that I shouldn't be doing, shouldn't be participating in, something that I really don't want to be associated with. And that's not something that I think I had any grasp of before.
Yeah.
I think I had some standards, but I think at one point in time I was just willing to jump at anything. You know what I'm saying?
Of course. Yeah, you're saying yes so often that you were never in a position to put yourself into that algorithm of like, this doesn't sit well with me. This is something that I don't feel in control.
Sometimes, a lot of times it's control, because I am a control freak. But sometimes it's just like I am very cognizant of my brand, and not to say that I haven't done things that I look back at and be like, that ain't on brand for you, Angel. But a big part of what I feel like my purpose is as an entertainer and as a artist is I want to bring joy to the people who watch my content. And if and not only joy, when I want the person to feel better about themselves after experiencing me. And I don't always do that, so I'm not going to sit here and be like, I've knocked that out the park. There are definitely things that I could say, not on brand at all. But I think it takes me sometimes in the past, it's taken me a while to realize, oh, you didn't feel good about that because neither one of those things were ever a part of the equation. It didn't bring anyone joy after watching it, and they might feel worse about themselves after watching or listening or whatever it is. So that has become a part of like my mental health and my emotional health. Is just making sure things are in alignment with my purpose, because why else am I doing it?
How did you come to the conclusion that that was one of your purposes, that was something that would give you fulfillment, is on following the rubric of, is this going to bring someone else joy?
I feel like that has been a part of who I've been since I was younger. I am the youngest of 4 girls. I was raised by a single mom, and I come from a family of very emotional women. I'm not that emotional, and I can still remember times at seeing when they were down, and that's when I think the comedian of me kind of like became, kind of like bringing levity to different moments. Yeah. And not that it set up a thing of, Angel, now you have to do this. It wasn't a codependent situation, but I see how easy it is for me to do that. And something about when I was trying to find, older, now getting closer to my 40s, trying to find this like zone of genius, the thing that I do well, it took me a long time to realize that wasn't easy for other people. I always used to think that anything that was easy for me was easy for everyone else. Sure. They just were choosing not to do it. Sure. Not realizing, oh, this is my special thing. So once I honed into that, oh, Angel, this is your special thing, I was like, well, then lean into it. Yeah. Lean into bringing joy. Yeah. Lean into making people feel better, because other people aren't just not choosing to do it. That's just not their gift. Yeah. So, like I said, I recognized that as I was younger, but then as I got older, I became more intentional about try to bring that to situations. Yeah, because that's your gift. Yeah. Yeah. I saw a great interview with Steve Harvey one time where he was talking about what is it that you do? What's the thing that you specifically do? And how is it that applies to your life? And he talks about how like his barber is, and it's such a strange thing to say, but his barber is like so good at just this. It's like a specific style, and then he monetized that specific style. And he said that he was inspired by Steve Harvey to just, be like, listen, this is that thing that you do, and that's that thing that separates you apart from anybody else. And sometimes it's something that that could be executed in like a vocation, like being a barber, but sometimes it's just a touch of how you go about that thing that you do. And I think like you finding that specific thing from your past and for how you apply it to now your present and your professional future, I think is really I think that's something that we would all be much happier if we figured out that's how we could apply that special thing through our whole lives. You know? It's I've been fortunate to be able to have the time to figure that out. I know for a lot of people, it's because of whatever industry they work in, and sometimes unfortunately we can't always have our purpose, or we don't live a life where our purpose is connected to our occupation. Sure. And that is actually fine, because sometimes it's easy to, like you said, we could be good employers, where it's just like, oh, this is your vision, I'll execute it, boom. Yeah. I can apply my purpose in other areas of my life. But I think a lot of times when the two aren't paired, you have so much time dealing with someone else's vision, helping someone else's zone of genius, that you don't get a chance to like really focus in on what yours is. Yeah. But it is so fulfilling. Like it is a beautiful, beautiful. So I have this one company called Mama Likes, where I do like self-care products. And I was having real bad procrastination. I couldn't figure out why. Nothing I did, no mind tricks, none of write this down and set alarms was making me execute the things in the timely manner that I should have. And so I had to talk about it with my therapist. And I was like, I don't know. And I said, I feel bad because I know I could do better and I'm not. And I said, I don't know what the mental block is. And we found out that it was because the motivation at the time was the money, because I was paying for another employee. And so I had to make sure I had the money by selling the products to pay for this person. Where the reason I started the company was never to make money. It was because I wanted it to be a gift to other mothers of color. I wanted, whenever they purchased something, to feel like they did something special for themselves.
Yeah.
And she was like, you see how the purpose kind of shifted. The purpose all of a sudden shifted to, I got to make money to pay for this person, versus I'm doing something right now just because I want you to feel like you love yourself. I want you to feel that you set aside a moment that you were a priority.
Yeah.
She was like, so you have to figure out a way to take this, to go back to the foundational purpose. The money will follow because of the purpose. But when it shifted to the money being first, it was like causing me not to be able to operate in the best that I knew I could.
Sure.
And I think a lot of times people don't have the opportunity to stop, to sit and be like, why am I behaving in this way? Because the money is a priority. They got to feed their kids. They got to pay their bills.
Yeah.
Where this wasn't that project for me. And I was like, why am I feeling like this? So I think for a lot of people, they just don't have the opportunity to do that. And it's very unfortunate, but I do realize the blessing that I have to be able to assess, is this a part of my purpose? And if it's not, I need to remove it off of my plate.
Did it change when you reframed it that way?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we were able to talk about, instead of monetary goals, how many women would you like to reach?
That's cool.
How many, and like, cause I have so there's the self-care products line of it. And then there's a mentorship part of it. So I'm, once a year, for a year, I pick like 6 to 8 mom content creators that I mentor through the year. And so she was like, okay, how many this year do you want to? So we set a number of people I wanted to touch versus how much money I wanted to make.
Yeah.
And it made things so much easier.
It's good. Yeah. And again, that goes with a big part of your rule following, sort of like, I need to compartmentalize this path for this purpose. It's like you're putting the wrong gas into the different car, you know. It's like this particular car doesn't take diesel, you know. It needs, it needs a different. Are there times where your husband's such a big part of your relationship with your husband's such a big part of your brand, it's such a big part of your content. Are there times where you guys are not at odds, but it's just we have to get this done for the purposes of getting something done, but we're in a tiff, or or we didn't quite get to wrap up a conversation that we had? Or I mean, every relationship has it, and it's never something that's like, I'm not looking for dramatic, I'm not looking for anything that's volatile. I just mean, is it complicated sometimes to have to create something with someone where you're also married?
Absolutely. Okay, first of all, me and my husband's podcast is called "Is This Going to Cause an Argument?"
Yeah.
Because the friction that we have as working partners is immense. It is immense. And then the trying to work through we have pockets of how we have to talk to each other. There are pockets of us being partners in parenting, right? We've got those type of conversations down pat. Then there's, how we talk to each other as spouses, right? That we, for the most part, we do good. Then there is, how do I speak to you as my business partner but I'm the one that has seniority,
sure, right?
So I don't want to feel like I have to ask for things, right? Because I'm the one who knows how to do the thing. Right. But I'm also trying not to talk down to you because you are a grown man. Right. I'm trying not to make you feel some type of way. It is our couples challenges are easier is what I'm saying. than trying to figure that part out. So we will do podcasts.
Let's get physical right now.
That would be a lot easier. Maybe you'll understand what I was trying to say to you.
There doesn't even have to be a challenge. Let's do one. Let's make one.
Absolutely. And it is really hard. But what's great is that we are both really trying.
Yeah.
Like, and we will still shoot. Luckily, the people who've been following us for a while, they know they will get a podcast where they can feel the awkward tension. And we'll be like, we know y'all can feel it. This is what y'all getting though, because we still haven't figured out this problem that we got. Moving on to the next segment. Like, truly. It has been that bad at times. And we're just like, well, this is what y'all getting today.
Oh, just a podcast of silence. That's what I want. I want one where it's so silent, but the camera continues to move.
Yeah, that's pretty much. It'll be like a lot of like, see, no, that's all right. Okay, what were you gonna say anyway? It's a lot of that. No, go ahead and say what you're gonna say. Nah, I ain't gonna say that. No, say what you were gonna say. There have definitely been episodes like that.
That's so fun. How do you find time to turn on mom mode where you're like, okay, do you have to schedule it?
Yeah, sometimes it does get hard. It definitely gets hard.
You have 4 kids, right?
I do.
It's
yes.
amazing. Every time I check your feed, you have a new kid.
I know.
I can't keep looking at Angel's feed. I think it's me. I was like, I can't keep looking.
It gives you anxiety.
I'm
like,
making her fertile somehow by just looking at her. I don't know.
I was like, oh, Drew's been over here, babe. I'm pregnant. He was watching my Instagram. Yeah,
that's why I put your videos to the side. I'm like, I'm not looking. I enjoy listening.
Right.
I can't risk it.
It sounds hilarious. Yeah, as soon as you hearted, what? 9 months later, another baby. Sometimes sometimes I feel like, ooh, I need to focus in on my kids, right? Especially when a lot of things, like this week, there were so many things with this song, with the podcast show coming up, and other things just all coming at me at once. And there are things that, like my son, my eldest son, he just promoted from 8th grade. He's going to be a high schooler, right?
Wow.
And typical mom Angel would have put together a party. We would have had a dinner. I would have invited all of my friends. I realized the day of the graduation, I invited no one to the graduation.
Wow.
So I was like, oh my God. I mean, other than my mother and my niece who's out here. And so I was like then texting all of my friends the live stream link so they could watch or whatever. And I was feeling bad at first because I was just like, I should have made a big deal out of this.
Yeah.
However, I know that my kids have gotten so much attention from me in big moments that I know for him, he wasn't like, well, Mom, you didn't.
Yeah.
He was happy we went to the Cheesecake Factory. I was like, we're going to go to the Cheesecake Factory to celebrate. He was like, bet.
Everybody should be. I mean, everybody should be.
I'm like, we got 5,000 things from the menu to choose from. Okay? You're about to have a blast.
Anything you want. It's in.
It's in here.
This is death row. You can say they have it.
So again, one of my rules is there is important kid stuff that I'm just not missing, right? So that helps me in the balance of that. And then also I've given myself permission to like define what it means for me to be a good mom. So for me to be a good mom, I don't feel like I have to be the one to do the grocery shopping. Like, you know what I'm saying? That is something I will outsource. I have not washed my kids' laundry and I don't know how long. It goes to the fluff and fold. So there are certain things that I have removed off of my list of things that would typically go along with the traditional archetype of what a mom looks like. Sure. That I've been like, outsource. But then there are things that like, so my yesterday was the last day of school. My second grade twins, about to be third graders, but they're leaving the current school that they're at. So I made sure, with the help of my assistant, I told her, I was like, I want their classmates to have goodie bags for them to be able to give to them since they're not going to see them anymore. And I want the teachers to have baskets put together.
Yeah.
So while the thought was mine, I didn't have to execute getting all the stuff, right?
Sure.
But then on the flip side, I also try to allow myself to have the not big moments with them. So this morning when I woke up, the youngest, the 3-year-old, he came into the room because they don't think their dad exists and asked me he was like, I'm hungry. And I was like, you want some cereal? He was like, yes. Now his father's right there, but he was like, Mama, you do it. So I went downstairs, made him cereal. And then one of the twins was like, Mom, can you make some eggs? And so I was just like, all right. So I made him some eggs. I made him some bacon and some cinnamon rolls. So those also like little small moments.
Yeah.
I try to make sure I say yes when I can. And it was so, because my mind was literally racing this morning. And it was actually a gift that my son gave me to be able to just, you know what, let me cook some eggs. Yeah. All the stuff that I was thinking about kind of just melted away.
Wow.
So I don't necessarily have to schedule, but I do have a rule. If they have big stuff, if they have big performances and stuff like that, you're going to have to be talking to me about some fun. I must be the next Avenger if you think I'm about to miss my son's graduation. Because if it's not that, I'm saying no.
Yeah. I would love to see you as an Avenger.
Me too.
It's just...
be the slowest running Avenger. Come here. Doctor, what's your face? What's your name? Yeah.
She just chips away at your confidence. That's what she can do. Yes. That's her superpower.
There you go. That's why your pants is too tight. They don't go well. You got woman hips. You got really wide hips. It's just like, no, these pants. I don't think that should have been your uniform. Not at all. Your friends don't like you and your crew. That's why they put you in that.
Angel's the first Avenger. I've never seen one drink a soda and just talk shit. She has a straw. It hurts.
I would love it.
Now, that was something I was going to ask you. I would love to talk to you about your song because it's blowing up right now on the radio and on the internet. It's the craziest. When I heard it, I was like, Angel wrote this song.
Thank you. I'm glad you know I ain't got no ghostwriter over here. I spit bars every day. You better be glad I didn't bring my grill because it would get real frisky up in here. Yeah.
How did it happen? What's the song like? Tell me everything about it.
Oh my goodness, Drew. So one of the 5 million podcasts I do, one of them is called Here's the Thing. It's a pop culture podcast. And there was this video that we were covering that was going viral by this just wonderful older lady named Sister Cindy, who does abstinence speeches throughout the southeast of America. And, she has this thing called Ho No Mo, right? Mm-hmm. You gonna ho no mo, okay? And so she was doing one of her times where she was doing a speech. She was just talking about when a guy gives a girl different margaritas, her sexual promiscuity is just gonna get more and more and more aggressive, right? And when I watched it, and it was so funny because the kids that are listening, they obviously are they're not heckling her, but they're giving her this big response, but not because they're like, we get what you're saying. They're like, absolutely, we want it. And I was like, nah, this sounds like the essence of a rap song. That when I said, oh, you talking about margaritas and sex? That sounds like a rap song, not an abstinence speech, right? And
you're going the wrong direction.
I mean, her set was killing, though. I was like, Sister Cindy should be on stage because this is a great closer. So I was like, Kev, give me a beat, right? And so Kevin, when he asked me to be his host, he did not realize how insane I am, but now he does. So when I have an idea, he's like, I'm just going to follow you off of this cliff. Yeah. So he gave me a beat and I started freestyling. And the freestyle turned out really good because I could kind of already hear it in my head. I was like, yeah, come on, let me rap. And then when I actually watched the episode, I was like, oh, girl, that was fire. You do this for real, right? And so I cut the clip out to put it online because I was like, I know this will do well. And I also know I was like, somebody will probably put a fun beat underneath it because there are producers that do that type of stuff all the time. Well, these two guys, Carl Dixon and Steve Terrell, they put a beat behind it and they did it really fast. And when I heard it, I was like, oh, this is fire. And their video started to go viral really fast, right?
Wow.
And so they DM me and they were like, hey, we're glad that you like the song. Would you consider doing a full song out of it? Because we're sure someone will go and try to make a bootleg version. And so then I had to stop and think about like my rules because I was like, I don't know these people. I'm not trying to get taken advantage of. I'm a 42-year-old woman with 4 boys. I don't have time for foolishness, okay? Yeah. And before I even responded, I was like, let me write what the rest of the song would be. Mm-hmm. So that took me about 15 minutes in my bedroom. I was typing it up. I was like, oh yeah, and then we gonna do this and then. And then me and them got on a Zoom the next day. And they both seemed really nice. They both seemed really sweet. And I was like, okay, I like their energy and their vibe. And I was like, all right. I said, let's do it. They were like, do you think you can write another verse? I said, I already got one. I was like, so just send me the track and let me spit this fire. And within 4 days of them dropping the remix that they had did before we had spoke, within 4 days we had a full song that they had put up on iTunes.
Wow.
And Tidal and Spotify. And then the thing just kept getting crazy bigger. I was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Record labels. I have had meetings with record labels all week.
God.
All week.
Oh my God.
Do you understand? They're like, so how do you see yourself as an artist? I'm like, ha! Well, when I gave thought to this, it's all been so crazy.
My process is I tape sheet music on the walls.
Right. I like to relax, drink a little wine, and I just let the music come to me.
My serotonin levels are high on Tuesdays, and so the morning was brisk, and there was a dew.
It has been crazy. They was like, and we would love, what would your follow-up song be? I'm like, I don't know. What are y'all talking about?
What are your next 4 albums?
Yes, really. They're like, we could do a whole album. We could, huh? Yes, we could. Let's see. Yeah. It has all been so crazy. I've had a complete identity crisis all within a week trying to figure this out. They're like, oh, because, we could see somebody like a Ice Spice on there. I'm like, she's young enough to be my child. Are we doing a Mommy and Me rap song? What is this?
Bro, you freestyled on Monday. You're going to have like an EGOT by Friday.
Listen, and I'll take it. Trust and believe. Angel is a whole rapper right now. She is a rapper. It has been great. Even Sister Cindy, she reached out to me. She was like, oh, congratulations on all the success of the song.
She's so funny.
It is all so funny. She is, and that one, Sister Cindy is a very sweet, warm person. And so we've been like talking. She's like, oh, we've been talking about our families and stuff. And she was like, I love how you ended the song. It's so great. She was like, I don't agree with the messaging, but the song is so good. So yeah, it's all crazy, but I'm also trying to allow myself to like see what this door opens because I had to like reflect, and because I've been on all these paths, I created these rules, and I'm like, this is the path that I'm on. I had to think back. I have been in so many music groups. I have written so many songs that are terrible over the years, and I'm like, is this what I'm about to be a part of? Is this what I'm about to do? And I started listening to other people's songs. I was like, oh, other people write terrible songs. I'm going to write some terrible songs and have people pay for them. This is great.
It's amazing. I think it's amazing. I mean, I think when you really think about that whole story and how that whole situation came to be, you cannot plan or account for how the world is connected and how something just comes to be.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I would have never thought that I was going to be having to answer the questions that I've been asked this like week, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
How do I see myself as an artist? Every time I get asked that, I'm like, okay, all right. Yeah, I see myself as a cross between, like, what?
I'm like a Kendrick, but like the playfulness of a Sandler. You're like, what?
Yeah, exactly. Like, picture me like Claire Huxtable, right? but like with the sass of like a Meg Thee Stallion. Can we do that? Can we do that? Like I do play dates, but I do play hate as well. You know what I mean? It's all bananas.
That's crazy. Now, when we do this podcast because I want to know. I always ask everybody that does the pod. I ask them of a time in their life. It could be personal or professional where they doubled down on themselves and they bet on themselves, and it backfired or it paid off. And is there a specific time in your life? And the reason I ask people this on air is because I do want whatever that first fresh answer is that comes to their mind, so where they can think like, oh, this was just pivotal. This was pivotal in my career, in my personal life. And I know we've talked a lot about your process and things, but is there an example that comes to mind for you that fits that criteria?
Yes, these kids I got. So what I mean by that is that I grew up knowing I would be a fantastic girl mom.
Oh, wow.
And I doubled down multiple times. Doubled down, backfired every time. Every time. I have 4 boys in the search for the one girl. That is literally why I have so many children. Is that I was like, no, but I will be the best girl mom that anyone has ever seen. And there won't, actually. They will never, ever see it. And truly, I don't think I would have as many kids if I wasn't so hell-bent on getting a singular girl. My husband says, well, he said, I ain't got no bitch in me. That's why. That's why we got all boys. I ain't got none of that in me.
Oh my God. I need that as a chest tattoo. I'm like the least likely person. I ain't got no bitch in me.
There you go. There you go. Absolutely. That's that white boy confidence you need to pick up, Drew.
It's on my way. It's through Marcus.
Yes, there
through
you
Marcus
go.
Will I get to my white boy confidence. A very tall black man will get me to my...
He's going to help you there, Drew. Cheetah shirts and all. We here for it. True, but truly though, I really, even though this is just such a random answer, but that is really one of the things. Like every time we went to make a child, I was like, "This is the time. This is the time. I'm gonna get this girl, and me and her are going to take over the world." Because for some reason, I feel like I could only do that with a daughter. Like I felt like, I have this amazing husband, and he's a great father. And then I'm amazing. But if you put us together and we're putting our love and our energy into this girl, she is going to be like the first black female president of the United States. Like that was what was in my head.
Yeah.
I was wrong.
Were you doing any of the things where you're like, all right, I need to face south and I need to have pepper 2 minutes before? Like
on that last one, I was doing all the things. On that last one, I was like, so you need to eat some pineapple. Okay, we need to get the acidity level down in your semen. It makes the girl swimmers faster. I am going to lay very still during sex.
As I do. Nothing will change.
Nothing will change. Not doing a thing. No calories will be burned in this process, okay? I mean, everything. Going to Asian doctors for Western. I'm like, okay, so what herb do I need to... And none of it worked. None of it worked. But it changed the trajectory of my life immensely with raising boys. And with me knowing the way the world is progressing and the way in which we are now holding men accountable for their behavior, for their misbehavior, I have a huge part in having lessons, teaching my sons lessons now so that they are not assholes in the future. Yeah. And like even at a young age, my one of my twins had a crush on this girl at his school, And he put together this huge Valentine's Day. He was just stealing stuff out of my house and putting it in a bag for her to give to her as a gift, right? And I was like, what the heck? What are you doing? And I was like, give me all this shit back. And so we put together a Valentine's for her. But then I was like, now we need to ask her mother for permission if you can give this to her.
Great.
And to make sure her mother feels comfortable with you giving her something, because she might not.
Such a gentleman. Yeah.
And he was like, okay. And I was like, so I know it might hurt your feelings if her mom says no, but this is how you learn what consent is.
Sure.
You need to ask before you do.
Yeah.
And these are things that, like, I feel as though we're not taught to adult men, and that is why they are struggling trying to learn it now.
Yeah.
Of like, I thought that, like,
Yeah.
and not feeling comfortable with, let me actually ask you,
Of course.
before I proceed with anything.
Yeah.
So I don't think I had even any thoughts in my mind growing up of like, oh, what it would be like to parent a boy, but like understanding that me and my husband have a responsibility, especially seeing how everything is unfolding and seeing the type of terror that a lot of women have been through.
Yeah.
And I typically don't think anybody is innately evil, but I do think that we sometimes pretend that we don't have a responsibility in the seeds that we plant in our children.
Yeah.
Because those little seeds turn into these terrible people that we see. So that has changed the trajectory of my life, because I am very intentional about, I know, right now all of them are, they identify as boys and they identify as heterosexual boys. So these are the men that are doing a lot of the
Sure.
crimes that we see. So I'm like, what I know is that you ain't ever gonna be one of them.
Sure.
As long as I got blood in my body, I'm gonna make sure that whatever I'm teaching you prevents you from being a person that is a person that is not an ally, a person that is not a good human, a person that is not someone that respects someone else's autonomy and someone else's voice. So
I think that's amazing. I mean, I think it's amazing because in a way, your influence and your experience as a woman and as a female, but also as a mom having that influence in 4 boys.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a gift that you didn't set on your own terms.
surely didn't.
But, it still has such an excellent, amazing payoff and message, and influence.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
I definitely, again, did not think at all. If I had no boys, I would have been ecstatic. I mean, I love my boys, but like in my head, I was like, girl mom all day, period, because we want to be a rap group.
I feel like you need to talk to a girl mom. That's what needs to happen.
Oh, though they all try to complain. They're like, oh, it's so terrible, as her and their daughter are at wearing matching outfits and shit and getting their toes done, even though me and my oldest son, we love a good pedicure. I'm like, whatever. You all have a great time. Shut up. But yeah.
I love that you have twin boys too.
I do.
You could have like fraternal 9 times out of 10. It's a boy and a girl.
Yep. You see that? I doubled down. You said, when have you doubled down? I did, Drew. Both 2 eggs came out. Pop, pop. Got you, girl.
Marcus just doesn't have a bitch in him.
He doesn't have I ain't got no bitch in me. Well, find a bitch. That's why we had to snip his balls. I was like, well, if you ain't got no bitch in there, then we don't need to be using them. We do not need to be using them.
They need to donate these to science. Like how? They're all male swimmers.
Pretty much. I don't know what the girls was in there doing. They just chilling.
I love that so much. Isaac, do we have a verses real quick that we can throw at Angel? What I do is I have a lot of comics on, but just funny people in general. Your background is in stand up, and
Mm-hmm.
the process of finding like what's a funnier word. And so out there's always, sometimes there's 2 words that mean the same thing. And so what I do is I ask Isaac to give us an example of 2 words, and then we either talk about what we think is the funnier word and figure out which one we'll advocate for. What do you got, Isaac?
Smart or intelligent.
Smart or intelligent. Interesting. Okay, so if you're about to lay down a joke, or in your case, a margarita track, or a joke, like what if you were to say like, man, that if you were to say what's like the funnier word? I have this conversation all the time with comics where I'm like, all right, if it's like doorknob or door handle, what do you think? Like, what's a funnier word? If you're like, man, that person's intelligent, or those inherently aren't very funny words, either of them. Can you give us another example?
I was going to say smart. I would feel like anytime I call somebody smart, you just so smart.
Yeah.
You just
I think
so
smart's the winner
smart.
easily on that.
Yeah. Now, if I was rapping, it would be intelligent. My rap is so intelligent. My flow is so elegant. It just gives you more to work with. I'm a rapper, you guys.
By next week, it's who even knows.
Who knows? Who knows, Drew?
Actually, I don't think we need to know. That's such a great point. She put it just so perfectly. I wouldn't even have thought that. Like, oh yeah, you're smart. Yeah, that's great. Mm-hmm. If someone says, like, if a sibling says or a parent says to you, "Oh, you're smart," it hurts. It hits.
Yes.
It cuts deep.
Yeah. Like smart. You can use it as an insult. Intelligent. I feel like it is what it is at its core.
Yeah, and saying intelligent, it's one of those words that feels like it's trying too hard. Sometimes words you can just hear, and I hear comics all the time where they'll be like, "This is the word choice I went with," and it's like, I think you tried too hard.
Yeah,
you go for what's like. I think hot tub is funnier than jacuzzi. I think jacuzzi tries too hard. I think hot tub is just funny.
Jacuzzi, yeah, you're right. It feels like jazz. Like it's too much. It's scatting.
But if you rap, you're saying jacuzzi. You're not saying hot tub.
Give you coochie in jacuzzi? Yeah. Absolutely. That is what's happening.
You're too good, Angel. It's too... I hope we'll send this tape to the producers. They'll know. They'll know what kind of artist you are.
I have no idea. And I am completely sober. I'm just drinking water. If I had actual margarita, a whole nother song would have been made on another podcast. More record labels. She's on fire. Yeah.
So good. Well, I'm so glad that you could spend some time with me today, Angel, and talk to me. Mel and I, we love your videos. As much as I can't watch them because of your fertility. But
listen, thank you, Drew.
even without your husband's balls, somehow there's another boy on the way. So I'm excited to watch what's in store next for you, and I just love getting to spend time with you. So
same. Thank you so much, Drew. I love you.
Yeah, thank you.
Have you ever had a dream that you had to do so much you could do anything?